This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted to be joined by former British heavyweight champion Julius Francis. I know he's looking around there thinking, where's Scott Welsh at? But Julius, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, I'm good.
It's good to hear. Obviously, we're down here today at Carney's Community for the World Boxing Council's Adaptive Boxing Programme launch. Just talk to me about the campaign itself and the initiative that you guys have put together.
Well, I'm only just coming on board with this and seeing it really for the first time myself. Very, very impressed. I am very impressed with the wheelchair boxing and with adaptive wheelchair boxing. You know, seeing the guys and seeing what it's produced today has made me actually realise that boxing and knowing that boxing is for everybody, of every ability, you know, and just because you have a disability, a physical disability, is not going to stop you from participating.
You know, I've said it to Charlie and I've said it to Scott. When I turned up today, I didn't really know what to expect in terms of what the day was going to plan out like. And then listening to everybody's stories, when you've gone around and you've spoken to everyone, you've heard their different backgrounds and how their injuries occurred and how they've got involved in boxing. What was your thoughts and how did you take to listening to them?
Well, everybody has their own unique story, and we have here guys that have been to war and lost limbs in war, lost their legs and whatever. We have guys that with cerebral palsy. So, you know, we've got guys on all different levels and all different kind of, from all different backgrounds. Guys that have been in car accidents, and guys that have in work accidents. So, as we can see and as we've seen today, that it's for everybody. Adaptive boxing, adaptive wheelchair boxing is for everybody. And listening to people's stories, you just say to yourself, you know what? It's quite heartening that people say, just because I have a disability, it doesn't mean to say I'm going to stop living. You know, so that is one of the great, I think, uplifting things about today is that we can see that, you know, just because you do have a disability, it doesn't mean to say you do stop life. You know.
Is that something that surprised you when you turned up, in the sense that you couldn't believe just how much motivation everybody's found themselves having once again with a new passion in life with boxing?
Yeah, definitely. When I'm actually seeing the guys give a demonstration, the guys in the wheelchairs giving a demonstration of boxing actually in the gym, in the ring, and then understanding, getting little pointers about how they score in the boxing, how much work actually goes into those guys actually going from the wheelchair, learning a bit of skills boxing, and then getting into the ring and actually boxing somebody of their same abilities in a wheelchair again. It's very, very hard. It's not easy, really not easy. And I was actually really impressed. I was really impressed.
For you, when would you like to see with the adaptive boxing programme really take off and maybe have these events put on for the public to come and see? Well, and we've mentioned the Paralympics as well as a possible target.
Yeah, definitely. The Paralympics, the Invictus Games, they're something that we will definitely be targeting. But for now, it is just about getting people used to seeing it, because you've got to remember, lots of these people are, in some ways, are invisible, yeah? To lots of people, until we started seeing, first off, until we started seeing women's boxing, we didn't really know that it existed. And until we, you know, started seeing and getting more and more facilities for people with disabilities and wheelchair access, we didn't really see it. You know, it took people months and years to get kind of wheelchair ramps put into buildings so people could, you know, and now we're seeing a thing like adaptive boxing. It's not going to be long before we see this as a regular thing, a regular events where we could have these shows on professional boxing shows, amateur boxing shows, just as mainstream as you see boxing on TV. Now you can, it's you go back to years gone by, how many disabled people or people with a mental illness or were talked about on TV, were spoken about on TV. But now you see it's like the normal regular thing. You look on different TV programs and you have people with disabilities. You look on news channels and you have people with disabilities that are presenting the news, presenting weather programs and whatever. So it's only bringing these people, instead of being shunned and put out of the way, it's bringing them into the forefront, and it's only right and proper. So.
Do you think we can see it on the undercards of the big shows, when we see people fighting at O2, like, for example, people like Charlie Edwards and Matt, when you got him coming down here today, can you see this taking off to that point, maybe being on an undercard? Or
it's not going to be long. It won't. It's going to be one of those things that some people will fight against it, because the same like women's boxing. Lots of people in the sport, fought against women's boxing. Now we have, how many different women world champions do we have? How many different women's bouts are on mainstream TV? It's just the norm. It is actually just the norm. So it's not going to be a very long hop, skip and jump to seeing these guys in wheelchairs, adaptive boxing, being screened and being shown as mainstream. It's not going to be very long. It's something that I throw my hefty kind of weight behind. Yeah, definitely, because and it's like we say, the WBC Cares is all about all inclusiveness. So let's just push it forward.
Now, former boxer yourself, down here today, Scott Welch, always also here, catching up on old times on those two previous bouts of yours.
Well, me and Scott have worked together for quite a while anyway, and we do often, and people do often ask about the bouts that we had, and for us it's old time banter, and we had good times. We shared our time in the ring together. But now it's about sharing our passion for the sport and giving our knowledge and and the things that we've learned throughout the years of the game back to the community and back to the wider community and the whole community, all inclusive. That's what it's all about.
Will we see the third fight?
Oh no, definitely not. No, not for me. No, I put on too much weight.
Whilst I've got you, I just wanted to get your opinions on the current heavyweight scene. Last week we heard about Jerome Miller's failed drug test. What was your initial reaction when you found out about it?
Well, I've always been of the opinion that Jerome Miller was never a world-class heavyweight, and really shouldn't have been. I don't think he should have been in the mix to fight Joshua anyway. He talked himself into getting the fight with Joshua because of some of the trash talking he had said and done. But I never thought he was really that caliber fighter. Having now, obviously for the last week or so, learned about the failure of his drugs test, it kind of just goes to prove that, in the sense that he was never really that guy, And as far as the wider heavyweight scene is concerned, I am disappointed with Joshua for one, because of the choice when he made that choice of fighting Miller, but also because as the kind of defending champion, in the sense that he's not the linear champion, but he's what do they call it? What do they call him now? The unified champion. That's it, the unified champion. Because he is the unified champion, and he has the 3 or 4 belts that he has. He's kind of like picking and choosing. For me personally, if you're the champion, fight the number 1 contender. After you beat the number 1 contender, you fight the number 2 contender and work your way down. Not go from the other way and go from like number 25 and come up. Because that's not how I see boxing. If you're the champion, fight the guys that bring themselves to that level. I'm a big fan of Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte has done everything since he lost against Joshua. He's done everything that they've asked of him to get himself into that number one position. Even as number one contender, being the number one position, they still refuse to fight him. You know, or make up excuses about he don't want to take the money that he's been offered. You know, that to me is kind of, as I say, a false flag. And then Wilder, Deontay Wilder, I can't even remember who he's fighting because it's Dominic Brazil. Dominic Brazil, who lost against Andi Joshua. You know, Andi Joshua was saying, that he don't want to fight guys that he's already beaten. How many guys are out there? How many top guys are out there? Top contenders are there out there that haven't been beaten? Tyson Fury, all right, and he's done the deal with DMZ or whoever he's done the deal, or ESPN. You know, he's fighting some guy from the middle of nowhere. Someone who I would say, and I'm being very honest with you, if I train for 6 months, I'd beat the guy. So when they're talking about contenders fight contenders. That's how it should be. Social media now is making the fights. It's not the guys that are getting themselves into position and winning the fights to get themselves in position. Social media is putting them where they are. And I think that's a detriment. It's a big detriment and a big downfall about boxing right now. So, I've said this on different platforms, but you know, I suppose the guys now are looking at it as a business, so they're making millions of pounds. That's fair play to them, good luck to them. But don't fool the public. Don't try and fool the public and say you're fighting the best out there, because you're not. You're fighting whoever accepts that kind of that purse full of money. You know what I mean? It's not right for me. I don't see it as being right and good for the sport.
Well, Julius, that's a perfect answer, a very detailed answer, answered my following the question as well. So I appreciate your time. It's great to catch up with you, and I'm sure we'll soon. Thanks for being to Boxing Social.
All right, no problem. I know I went in quite deep, but you know, I am very passionate about this game. Thank you very much anyway.